Welcome to the broadcast, my dear Fruit Crumbles. Owen R says, River, did you catch Meghan's Time 100 interview? I genuinely can't decide if the interviewer was trolling Meghan in real time or was actually taking the interview seriously. And this was one of many similar questions, so we're going to be looking into this gong show. But to opine on your question, Owen R, regarding the presenter and the sycophancy you see in all of these types that hover around Meghan. There is a duplicitousness, there is perhaps a dichotomy going on in their minds. It's not that they are lying to us by showering Meghan in praise, it's more that they're lying to themselves because they've been trained into doing it for the sake of appearances, and this is why they appear with all this sort of hysteric, girlish sycophancy around the Duchess and all the characters that you see in Hollywood, for example, and celebrities of the day. It's how they are taught and evolved into treating each other with their tongues up each other's arseholes. And it seems to be the lingua franca of the celebrity Hollywood set. It's vulgar, it's trashy, it's immature, and it leaves all of them parading around with brown noses. But it has become so natural to them, they don't even realise they're doing it. It's second nature, but their soul knows. This is the thing, my dears. Their soul understands that they are bullshitting. And so there are karmic consequences down the line, do you understand? And that's when you find the sort of frenemyship that is now coming to the surface in Meghan and Harry circles, which we discussed last time, and we're going to be discussing again a little later on today. But first, we must address the wardrobe, because it's just too much fun not to, isn't it, my dears? Oh, the material she gives us. The material for comedy, by the way, not the yards and reams of fabric that she inflicts upon us for view. This time it was Ralph Lauren, silk and linen with a brown belt and suede heels, and her collection of royal bangles. I thought she looked absolutely dreadful, especially in motion. A box of rags is what it was, and what she always seems to provide us with. However, I will say that when she was sitting down face to face, I thought it looked a little bit nicer and a little bit more chic. But all over, the effect was that of someone who was extremely slovenly. Slovenly and frowsy. I will tell you, by the way, that in fairness to Meghan for the style that she's heralding and the style that she favours over the last few years, all of these baggy parachutes all over the place. I mean, it's all over the streets of London. Baggy clothing, baggy trousers, baggy jeans, baggy ball sacks, baggy boobs, baggy, 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 baggy. Everywhere it is, my dear. You know, it's the vogue, it's the fashion, it's the style. Some carry it off better than others. It's not one that I'm attracted to, I'm afraid. As you know, I'm a devotee of the skinny jeans. Skinny jeans, brogue boots, a t-shirt, and I like to throw on a piece of cashmere, if I can. I always like to be in contact with some piece of cashmere. Any season, any season. But I suppose you could say in that respect that I'm the dated one. I'm the dated one because they're not really in vogue. But I don't like to follow trends. I know what suits me and I stick to it. You understand? And trust me, the vogue that you see at the moment for baggy, 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 and everything you see cladding Meghan's frame and encumbering her will be very, very dated very quickly. Yes, they will. Do you remember me a couple of years ago, my dear? I was complaining to you because everywhere I looked I was being assaulted by centre partings here in the kingdom. No offence to you. Some people absolutely suit a centre parting. It's the right thing. But for most people, it doesn't enhance their look. It does nothing for them. And it brings out a plainness. And it doesn't behoove the structure of the face in many people. But it was everywhere. It was absolutely ubiquitous. The young gals of the kingdom running about with this CP, this centre parting, which wasn't fair. I was being assaulted by it, my dear. That's past. That's past. They're nowhere to be found now. Nowhere to be found. It's just this bagginess all over the place. I don't like to follow trends, but I also don't like to be a relic. And so I have looked at this baggy fashion. I've re-evaluated it, tried to reimagine it and understand it. And in my own personal life, my own personal wardrobe, I have adjusted the trend to suit my own sensibilities. And in fact, I've found, for example, a pair of flared jeans, because flares are part of this fashion as well. I don't mind a flare if it's done well and it's cut nicely. And I've got a very smart pair of very flared black ladies' jeans. They were designer, they weren't cheap, I've got to tell you, but they were cut beautifully. With a little stretch in the denim, and that's my little nod to what's cool right now, and that's quite enough bagginess for me, I don't want everything flapping all around my ankles, do you understand? No. But it's difficult, my dear, for the young these days in the charity shops of the kingdom. You know, the teenagers coming through, the style makers, the trendsetters. Not you, Meghan. You know, the young bright things. There was a time you could pick up absolute bargains and wonders in charity shops. Our version of the thrift and the goodwill up and down the kingdom at a great price. No bargains to be found now. And also, nothing interesting. There's no clothes from the 70s or the 80s left. They're all vintage designer pieces on eBay and Etsy now. So all you've got is people's cast-offs from, 2010. I mean, where's the joy in that, my dear? Where's the joy in that? So, I feel for them and I pity them. For their sources of inspiration, you understand, my dear. It's not like the bygone days of the disco. I didn't like the colour of this piece that she was wearing. It's not a colour that I personally wear, unless I was going on safari or something, my dear. And the body language experts in the Mail, for example, have been having a field day with, for example, her gesture of the limp wrist. They call it the broken wing. I think I'm guilty of doing that a bit here. Apparently it displays your vulnerability, but also your power. And much has been made of her dutiful husband scurrying along behind her coattails like a spare part. Can you believe it? Yes, it seems that his role as spare has become the habit of a lifetime. Well, Meghan was introduced by the presenter with all the gushiness that we've come to expect as a founder, a CEO, an investor, a creator, and we're told that the CEO of Netflix was in attendance. Meghan tells us this. And she calls Ted Sarandos a great support. And then she mentions that it was, I think she said her friend Bella, who gave her the suggestion that she was such a great hostess and such a natural in the kitchen and in front of the camera, that there's a show here. There is a show here, Meghan. You care for so many people. So perhaps you can tell me, I missed this, but Bella, who's this Bella? Apparently it was one of the friends that she sent her jam to. Bella Hadid? I don't know. Bella Emberg? I've got no idea. Anyway, she cares for so many people. Oh, she's the Florence Nightingale, isn't she, of Montecito? Oh, she is a right old Flo, running around with a candle. You can leave mine alone, lovey. But she does say something wise. I will give this to the gal, because she is asked, how do you care for yourself, Meghan? How do you care for yourself? Thank you so much for asking. The royals never asked if I'm okay. So thank you. Thank you so much for asking. Everything going on in the world, 6,000 million people killed in war today, but no. Couldn't you have just found the time to ask if I'm okay? I'm a member of the royal family on my way to queenhood. And they think I'm too privileged to ask if I'm okay. I digress. But she does give wisdom, because she says she cares for herself by caring for other people. It's like when you go for a job interview and they ask you that one natty question, don't they? What are you bad at doing? What's the one skill that you haven't got? The sort of negative question. And you have to answer it by, I'm just too hardworking. I'm just too dedicated. Along those lines, you understand, my dear. But she says she cares for herself by caring with other people. Actually, she's onto something. I agree with her. When you are feeling depleted, when you are feeling frustrated or deprived in some way, the tonic is to give of yourself and be generous of nature. Not financially necessary, generous of nature, generous of spirit, care and tend to other people. And we hear from many quarters that she does do that. I'm not here to give blanket criticism towards the girl. I don't hate her like some of you do. I don't have that sort of vitriol. I try to be playfully catchy about the subject and encourage it in others and see the nuance and the balance. And that's something that she does seem to be good at, and appreciates that she gets back what she gives in that respect. She does address the criticism she received for using one of her neighbours' homes for the show. She says that the reason for this is that there were 80 members of crew, and they would interrupt the kids coming back from the nursery when they come home to nap. Well, I suppose you can brandish that as an excuse, but I don't really buy it. I think there's quite a bit of room in that chateau, including many sort of houses where other members of the family, such as Doria, buckle on down, don't they? They don't lack for space there. So I'm sure the 80 members of crew wouldn't really have caused much of a problem for the kids. They would have enjoyed having them around. The presenter congratulates Meghan because the second series has already been announced and it's been approved. Well, that's because it was already in the can. You stupid cow. It was already in the can. You had already recorded it. So, of course, it was going to be released. They were simply stretching out for a so-called second season because of all the delays revolving around the catastrophe of her product launches and the rebranding and all of this nonsense. Meghan claims that the first drop of her products sold out in 45 minutes. Well, my keepsakes sold out in about a tenth of that time, Meghan, my dear. Whereas your keepsake packaging is a load of old junk. But she makes a big meal about it. She says, I needed to see and feel the packaging. Oh, O-H. O-H. I've spied a package. I know this is only our first date, but I've spied a package. And if you're anything like your brother's reputation for a largesse of membership, I would love to get acquainted with your package. Could I feel it and see it and check it out? That's a packet in a package that she thought she wanted to get her hands on, and then when it was unzipped, she saw and felt the package and discovered little Todger. Oh, little Todge! Doesn't take after his big brother in many ways, does he, our Big Willie? No. Poor old Meghan's stuck with that frostbitten pink mouse in a nest of marmalade. Gotta have some sympathy for the girl. She says that she wanted to be involved in the granular, and she impresses us all with her know-how of words like granular and the SKU, the SKU, the stock keeping unit. Are you being educated on the way of the businesswoman? And she tells us she played with the tissue paper to make sure that it was what her customers really want and really need, and she played with the old bits of card in the keepsake packaging until she found the right metric. The right metric and the size we've been looking for. Well, you didn't find that in your husband's pants, did you? I'm quite sure that on the lonely nights she reminds herself of the sort of fulfillment that Trevor Engelson was able to deliver, even if he wasn't able to match the royal bloodline that Harry provided, and a route to the late Queen's grandchildren in the family. There were other benefits to the first husband. Benefits for that hungry beaver. The hungry beaver, the deceiver known as Meghan. Benefits that she misses. Trevor was a man. A big, broad, proud man like William. Yes, not a little boy. A little boys everywhere I turn. I can see them. So she makes a big meal about telling us about the arrangements for her packaging because she's such an engineer and she's a scientist of such great skill. She needs to tell us all about this. And then, on the subject of confessions of a female founder, the presenter asks Meghan, what is your biggest confession, Meghan? What? Come on, what's your biggest confession? Furnish us with the truth. And she tells us, I'm the happiest I've ever been. That's the best you can do, my dear. She's the happiest she's ever been. That's the biggest secret. Actually, that answer, that insipid answer, that tepid answer, puts me in mind of Theresa May. Do you remember when she was asked, Prime Minister, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done? And Theresa May said, oh dear, well, me and my friends used to run through the fields of wheat, and the farmers weren't too pleased about that. Yes, Meghan is so blissfully happy, she tells us, because her husband is so supportive. Or do you mean submissive? She has healthy kids and they're so joyful. Well, that is actually confirmed by many, many people, including Katie Lee on the recent podcast, who describes them rushing into her own arms when she comes to visit. This is said again and again by so many people, not just people exceptionally close to Meghan. I take all of this into account. I do not believe that they are a terrible, atrocious parents that are fucking up their children like a lot of you do believe. I don't believe it. I think that both she and Harry will be and are good parents. That doesn't mean that they haven't made some very bad decisions. It doesn't mean that it hasn't been cruel to deprive them of a relationship with the royal family and the king and their Uncle Willie and their Aunt Kate and all the rest of it, my dear, and the cousins Lottie and Georgie Porgy, little Louie, all of those years of fun missed. So it's not without fault, but I don't wish any misery on her at all. I hope that she and Harry are truly happy, because it will stop them perhaps inflicting misery on other people. Well, one can hope, perhaps not, but you know, what I would be glad to see is them acknowledging the misery that they have caused for other people and the intrusion into other people's happiness, because they did it without a care and without a thought. So it's remorse that many of us want, isn't it? It's a little dose of remorse. But do I think it's likely we're going to see it? Not anytime soon, my dear. They're hell-bent. They're still hell-bent on revenge. Meghan also claims that she doesn't go online. She made the conscious decision for her mental health and for her well-being. But she says that things are brought to her attention on a need-to-know basis. What, by Harry or by Doria? Look what Catherine's been wearing. She's a sensation in gold. Meghan is focused on her producerial work. Yes, she's producerial. She is quizzed about her flower sprinkles. Why does everybody make fun of my flower sprinkles? She says. It just brings a little bit of joy every day. She claims that her wish list for the people that she wanted to appear on her show was fulfilled. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You ended up bringing in a parade of friends and associates of very little note, but moreover, very little to actually offer. And I don't believe that your wish list was fulfilled. Perhaps your reserve shortlist, your reserve shortlist was fulfilled. Maybe that. But she says, as for plans for the future, she's going to be scaling to growth. The executive is going to scale to growth, and then she promises more surprises. Well, there's been no surprises so far, Meghan. No surprise whatsoever, because for all of your blue sky thinking as an executive, you've actually found your empire sinking, haven't you, bit by bit? From the dizzy heights of royalty, you've resorted to being a hustling influencer. You're Trisha Paytas on stilts. Now, 2 days after I revealed that Harry and Meghan's friends are turning frenemy, a journalist by the name of Kennedy at Mail Online reveals exactly the same thing that I told you 2 days ago. But she doesn't supply you with the specific details and the specific example that I offered you, vis-a-vis Tina Knowles and the Oprah Circle. The word from Montecito insiders is that Meghan's mean girl friends are relentlessly gossiping behind her back, roasting her as pumpkin spice and Walmart for allegedly selling out in a series of cheap stunts that do little to establish her as a forward-looking influencer. The Wallace Windsor of Walmart. However, Gwyneth Paltrow has been defending Meghan, and she's been heaping praise upon her in a recent podcast when she was asked about the rumours of their rivalry. And I'll tell you what she said. She said, you know what I won't be at this point in my life? Like, lots of likes in this, by the way. Like this, like that. Like I won't be a pawn in some drummed up, triangulation of women feud in order for your fucking clickbait. Leave us out of it. Like, don't do that. I will not stand for that. I wish Meghan nothing but the best. Like it's so great what she's doing. I'm proud of her. Every woman deserves to go into anything that they want to do. Like, people just need to check themselves. Well, Gwynny dear, who I am somewhat acquainted with, by the way, so you might actually want to listen to somebody who has your best interests at heart. You might have a reasonable and justifiable cause for complaint had Meghan not dragged my future queen through the mud. Well, that doesn't happen on my watch. Love a girl. Dragged through the mud at every opportunity, from the trivialities such as not cuddling her, not sharing her lip gloss, all the way through to the accusation of downright racism heaped upon Catherine's shoulders. And you want to talk about clickbait as if Meghan isn't a queen of clickbait herself and Harry isn't a king of clickbait himself? That is the only kind of kingship and queenship that they are ever going to be able to use to reign over their cacophony of trolls of their own making. So don't come all purity with me, queen of clickbait, with your vagina candles and your jade eggs and all those vulgarities of the pussy. I defended you, Gwyneth Paltrow. I defended you when very few were. While your trial was going on with the skiing incident, while you were being sued, I defended you then. And I'd defend you again for the same thing. And I happen to have a lot of good things to say about you to this day, my dear. But as for you not standing for criticism of Meghan Markle, sue me. Sue me! And if you think that you won high praise for your quiet luxury wardrobe during your previous trial and your previous hearing, you just wait till I rustle up in my fuchsia pink rubies and my pearls and my brooches and my tiaras. I will wear 50 tiaras and will arrive on a chariot of scantily clad gladiators. And don't you think that I'm joking, my dear, because I will do it. I will do it while you sit there in your gentle luxury cashmeres with a jade egg stuffed up your candle that smells like a vagina. Gwyneth continues. She lives in Montecito, so I've seen her. I've hung out with her a few times. She seems really lovely. I don't know her super well, but she seems really, really lovely. Well, half of marriages, 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. And all of those marriages began with the enchantment of love, with each future spouse thinking, oh, they're really, really lovely. They're gorgeous. I'm enchanted by their charisma and charm, their smile, their genitals. Whatever it is, my dear, they're enchanted. But 40 to 50% of all of those end up loathing each other. And same can be said for many, many friendships and relationships in all of our lives, my dear. The milk turns sour, do you understand? And that initial loveliness turns to loathing. What you're experiencing, Gwynny, my dear, are the love bombs and love charms of an adventuress, an arraviste, and an actress. A comment from Joanna Baumgartner, a regular here on the channel, who I've mentioned a few times and who is an authentic hostess, of great note actually, and famed. She is half German and half Swedish. She's Germish, and she's famed for her quiet luxury, but she actually really knows what she's talking about. She also has expertise in gems and jewels, and she brings class to QVC, whereas one of her many strings to her bow, she presents, and she's celebrated as a society insider with fabulous connections. And as you know, I often share the fact that I receive many whispers, and I'm always extremely discreet, but I will tell you that, without giving anything away, that Miss Joanna has been extremely helpful in my research in the past, not divulging any matters further. But vis-a-vis regarding Meghan, she says it is impossible to birth an original idea if one does not have any substance. This is what she is lacking. She had the opportunity to grow into someone she had taken on a purposeful role in the royal family, but she did, and still does not have the disposition to put in the work. She also lacks the understanding and the intelligence to understand what an exceptional and immense opportunity she was given. An opportunity so much bigger than herself, evidently too big for a woman like her. Oh, but Joanna, my dear, there's nothing bigger than Meghan. There's nothing bigger than her star. Is there, my dear? Oh, heaven forbid we would suggest anything else. There's nothing greater than the great and grand and humble and magnificent, but modest Adam Eve. As for Meghan's career as an influencer, she offered an Easter edit of her wardrobe pics on Shop Me. Part of what she offered were garments that had already been worn by the Wales children. Oh, what a coincidence. Oh, the troll is trying to troll us. She presented the blue gingham pyjamas that had been worn by Prince George previously, that he wore to meet the Obamas. And Ting says, "Hi River, is it just a coincidence that just as the adorable gappy smile of Prince Louis won hearts, Meghan Markle announces on her Time interview, so casually announces, Archie is losing his first tooth today. I hope we can be there," she says. "The kid should stay away from the flower sprinkles." Well, yes, my dear, what a coincidence indeed. There was Louis with his 7th birthday, his gappy birthday, making all the headlines. And oh, just by chance, on the same day we hear that Archie is about to get his first big tooth this week. Let's hope he doesn't bite her. Did you see the cover of Tatler for the June issue? There's a portrait by Philip Boutard, who is the official tour artist of the monarch. He follows the king around everywhere, painting his picture. Isn't that fabulous? I wouldn't mind one of them myself, my dear. And it was inspired by a photo taken in the garden at Buckingham Palace, marking the 20th anniversary of Charles and Camilla. I'm afraid it's been receiving some criticism. You can tell me what you think, my dear. I think the rendition of Camilla is a little more faithful than Charles, but I haven't had time to digest the picture yet. And also I think it's unfair when one hasn't seen it in the flesh. I'm not hideously offended by it, but it has been described as being reminiscent of a two-headed monster by some quarters, and has received some harsh notes. Anyway, last year Catherine caused a few ripples, do you remember, with that portrait? And there was another one of the new king in 2023, so this is a way for Tatler to cause a bit of a stir. And bad news for Camilla haters, by the way, because Anne spoke to Tatler, with Princess Anne praising Camilla yet again for the competence she displays in her role. Anne said Camilla's understanding of her role and how much difference it makes to the king has been absolutely outstanding. I'm sure lots of people do say to her what a difference she's made, but that really is true. She's incredibly generous and understanding. And actually that royal photographer Arthur Edwards was saying exactly the same thing on Loose Women last week. He was raving about Camilla, just saying she is fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. She speaks to you like you are a close friend. She's full of respect and full of fun and frivolity, and brings out the best side of the king in spades. Australians and New Zealanders who served and died in conflicts around the world were remembered on the 110th anniversary of Anzac Day. The Duchess of Edinburgh attended a dawn service at Hyde Park Corner in London to mark the anniversary and commemorate the fallen. Lest we forget, for Anzac Day the King wanted to pay a special tribute to veterans and those who are on active service. Through the generations, you've continued to enact the indomitable spirit of Anzac, forged in terrible conflict and preserved in peace, of courage, mateship and sacrifice. Charles R. And the Princess Royal read a message from the King during a commemorative event in Turkey. Her Royal Highness is on a 2-day trip to Gallipoli to remember the fallen from all nations. I reflect on the memory of the dreadful losses suffered by so many during the battles. While the impact of these losses reverberates through history, we may take some solace in the warm friendships and deep alliances that have emerged from the desperation of Gallipoli and which continue to endure after 110 years. Nice to see you nice. Thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast today. If you enjoyed the show, please send lots and lots of money to my tip jar in the description box. And if you didn't, well, fuck you. See you next time, my dears, and doodle pip. Lots of love.